In the shadowed annals of time, before the written word, before empires rose and fell like dust on the wind, a legend was whispered, a tale of a man who dared to defy mortality itself. It was a Kinsamse, a warrior, a mortal man whose fear of the inevitable end of this island, cold embrace of death, became an obsession. This fear, a seed of rebellion, grew into a towering oak of defiance against the very gods who wove the tapestry of fate. He would not bow to time. He would not be another forgotten name etched on a crumbling stone. He would conquer death, one fateful night, under the baleful glare of a blood-red moon, a celestial omen of an unholy pact. He journeyed to a place forbidden to mortals, a place where the veil between worlds was thin, a forgotten temple carved into the heart of a desolate mountain. Its stones breathed an ancient cold, and the silence within was heavy, absolute, broken only by the frantic beating of his own heart. He was a trespasser in the domain of the divine, a mortal soul stepping into the abyss. There, upon a black obsidian altar, rested a chalice. It was not filled with wine or water, but with something far older, far more potent, a sacrificial blood of forgotten rituals. A dark libation meant to appease entities far older and crueler than any god he knew. With a trembling hand but an unyielding will, he raised the chalice. He saw his own reflection in the crimson liquid, a fleeting glimpse of the man he was about to lose forever. He drank. He drank deep of the forbidden essence, a toast to his own damnation. The moment the liquid touched his lips, a fire, cold and terrible, coursed through his veins. The world twisted around him, the temple walls groaning as if in agony. He collapsed, his body racked with a pain that transcended the physical. It was the pain of a soul being ripped from its natural course, of a life being unmade and remade into something monstrous. His heart, that loyal drumbeat of his mortal life, stuttered, faltered, and then fell silent. An eternal stillness took its place. The warmth of his blood turned to ice. His skin, once bronzed by the sun, became as pale as bleached bone, as cold as the grave he so desperately sought to avoid. And his eyes, once reflecting the fire of ambition, now burned with a new, unholy light, a malevolent, crimson glow. He was no longer a man. The king was dead. The warrior was gone. In his place, a creature of the night was born, animated not by life, but by a curse. And with this rebirth came a new, all-consuming need, a thirst, an eternal, knowing, insatiable thirst for the very essence of life he had forsaken. Blood. His first hunt was not an act of malice, but of instinct. The primal scream of his new existence. He emerged from the temple into a world that was now alien to him. The night was his new domain, the shadows his allies, the familiar sounds of the living world. Laughter from a distant village, the song of a nightingale war, now a torturous symphony that only amplified his new hunger. He moved with a speed and silence that were inhuman, a wraith gliding through the moonlit forests. His first victim, a lone traveler on a dark road, saw only a flicker of movement, felt only a fleeting, sharp pain, and then an encroaching cold. The king, now a predator, drank, and for a fleeting moment, the gnawing emptiness inside him was filled. But the satisfaction was brief, a temporary reprieve from an eternal torment. He returned to his kingdom not as a ruler, but as a plague. He walked the halls of his moonlit castle, a ghost in his own home. The sun, once a symbol of his power and glory, was now his mortal enemy. Its first rays were like a physical blow, searing his new, sensitive skin, forcing him to retreat into the deepest, darkest chambers of his fortress, to wait in silence and shadow for the coming of the night. He was a prisoner of his own immortal design. This was not the eternal life he had envisioned. It was an eternal cage, a solitary hell of hunger and memory. His loneliness was a palpable thing, a cold shroud that was heavier than any royal robe. He watched generations of his people live and die, their brief, warm lives a constant reminder of what he had lost. But the curse was not his alone to bear. In his desperate attempts to quell his thirst, he created others. Those he fed upon, those who did not perish but survived his bite, were reborn into his own image. Their hearts, too, fell silent. Their skin turned pale, and their eyes opened to the same crimson hunger. They were his children, the first of his cursed lineage, bound to him by blood and shadow. The curse began to spread, a creeping pestilence seeping from the castle walls and into the surrounding villages. A whisper of fear turned into a scream of terror. They were called the Children of the Night, the blood drinkers, the undead. Vampires. Centuries bled into one another. Empires rose and crumbled. The world changed, but he remained. The legend of the first vampire, the Cursed King, became a story told by firelight, a myth to frighten children. His name was lost to time, but his legacy of darkness endured. The tales spoke of a shadowy figure who commanded the night, a being of immense power and profound sorrow, forever walking the earth, a solitary king of a dead and hungry kingdom. The myth became a whisper, a chilling thought that passed through the ages. Even now, in our modern world of science and logic, the old fears linger. In the quiet of the night, when the wind howls like a tormented soul, we feel a primal dread. We tell ourselves they are just stories, ancient folklore from a superstitious time. But the legend persists, a dark undercurrent beneath the surface of our reality. It whispers that the first vampire was not born of nature, but was made by ambition and sacrilege, and that his shadow, a long and patient darkness, still stretches across the world, waiting, watching, and perhaps, even now, he walks among us, his crimson eyes reflecting the endless, lonely night.